And welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 500,000 subscribers. Look, we're getting there, and with your help, we will soon. So hit subscribe, watch, comment, and share. Please share this with everyone because we must make the chaos, the lunacy, the nonsense, we must make it stop. Now, look, every time Republicans block efforts to release the full Epstein files, the cover-up gets louder than the truth. Thomas Massey's discharge petition is now stalled. MAGA Mike Johnson shutting down Congress early to avoid a vote. And the survivors are left standing alone on the Capitol steps, demanding justice. Longer that this drags on, the clearer I think it becomes that protecting Trump and his allies matters more to MAGA than protecting victims. I spoke about this issue on Mea Culpa with my journalist guest, Allison Gill. Let me show you what she said. Play the clip. If I was still in the inner circle, I would be telling whoever it is that's guiding Trump in terms of how this is playing out, this isn't the way I would handle it. Let's release the files. Again, the picture of the naked woman with the I don't even know what kind of nonsense is written inside of it. A conversation, we have so many things that are the same. It doesn't mean anything. So let's now go and let's put an end to all of the speculation, all of the innuendo and the conspiracy theories. Oh yeah, Donald was, selling a woman, or Epstein sold Donald a woman for $22,500. I don't know it to be true. I don't know it to be untrue. All I know is the answer rests in those files. And the longer you let those files linger in Pam Bondi's desk, the guiltier that I think you look.
Yeah, I agree. And I will push back a little bit on the drawing and the writing and the signature. That, to me, sent shudders through me. It's hard to put a finger on why. Maybe as a sexual assault survivor, maybe as somebody who's been used that way. But I think a lot of folks saw that, and it was kind of like the the consensus was it's worse than we imagined, that letter. And if that's his signature on it. So I wouldn't say it's nothing. It's indicative of the kind of person that he is. But regardless, you're right. Why cover everything up? I wouldn't handle it this way either. I would go through and I would release the files if there was nothing nefarious in there, and say, I had a friend who was a terrible person and I'm not his friend anymore. But that's, you're right. The longer that you don't do that, the more guilty, the more of a cover up it looks. And it's not just him covering it up. It's Pam Bondi. It's, Bongino. Excuse me. Bongino wanted to release all this stuff and got shot down. Congress, Mike Johnson is helping him cover this up, closing down Congress and leaving early every time somebody wanted to put an Epstein files amendment. He's calling Republicans in the House and saying, don't sign the discharge position or it's a hostile act toward me. But how can it be a hostile act toward you if transparency is your goal and you're innocent? So those kinds of cover-ups, like you said, make everybody very suspicious, and wonder what's going on. But that's why I asked you kind of at the top of the show, is he covering it up because there's something bad in there? Or is that just his knee-jerk reaction to any accusation, is to deny, deflect, and blame the other side for the same thing, as Roy Cohn taught him? So, yeah. I mean, he covers everything.
I didn't know you were a sexual survivor, a sexual assault
military
survivor.
Sexual trauma.
Mm-hmm. I'm so sorry for you. Can I ask you a question? And you don't have to answer it. I would be very interested in your take on when the survivors all stood on the steps of the Capitol. I was so proud for them that they were able to muster the strength that they did to tell their story. It's brutal to have to tell that story, I'm certain. And I'm saying to myself, the disrespect that came from the Republican, from MAGA Mike Johnson and others that sat there and denied their stories, basically, once again, victimizing the victims. I was so appalled. And again, if I was there on the inside, I would be directing the president. This is the easiest way to turn off more than 50% of our population.
But instead, he sends a flyover in the middle of their press conference.
Right.
The thing that stood out the most to me, first of all, their bravery. It's amazing. It's very difficult to come out and talk about these things. And that was inspiring, because that's like speaking for all of us who were, drummed out of the cop station when we tried to report, to be able to see people speaking out, to watch what E. Jean Carroll is doing, it's like justice by proxy, kind of.
Sure.
But what stood out to me the most was that there was one woman who was telling her story about how she was sent to give Epstein a massage, and it was $200. And then she was told that if she brought other girls in, they would also get $200. And it sounded, I could hear it in her voice, that she was not only telling her story, but still trying to convince herself with all of her might that none of that was her fault. I could feel how hurt she was that she maybe brought other girls into this when she was a kid, and then said, but I was just a kid, and I could hear her
her pain.
Yeah. And that she still has a sense of shame that's put into, survivors by their attackers, right? And people who don't want them to report, and people who want to keep them quiet. And that was a tough day. And I'm so very proud and in awe of being able to go out and tell your story like that, especially against very, very powerful people.
Oh, yeah. Meanwhile, I want to go back to Pam Bondi for a second. I mean, our attorney general, she promised to immediately release the full unredacted Epstein files, except for the names of the victims, that's sitting in her desk. And the question I keep asking myself, I try to be pragmatic in the questions that I think, the questions I ask of people like yourself. What changed? And why are these files still being withheld from the public? They keep claiming that he's not in it. And by the way, I wouldn't be shocked if he never got a massage. We've actually had that conversation. I've never had a massage. I don't like to be touched. I don't. Other than by my wife, I just don't. And we had that conversation, Trump and I, after Bob Kraft had his incident at a massage parlor. And he said to me, yeah, you never catch me. I don't do massages. I said, my God, I don't do massages either. So I'm not certain, again, what has changed. I could use your expertise.
Between Pam Bondi saying we're going to release it all and Bongino saying we're going to release it all. And well, first of all, it was a lot of conspiracy theories surrounding that. And my guess is, they put 1,000 people on this at the FBI to go through these files. And I also, my heart goes out to them. I spoke to several personnel who had to go through those files. They aren't labeled. So you don't know what's in them until you open them. And then maybe you're confronted with a video of illegal child rape. And so it's that, I think a lot about that. These FBI personnel who were forced to do this and go and flag Trump's name and keep it in a spreadsheet. The only thing I could think about what's different is, because if I were them, I would have done a Twitter files type thing if I were an evil person and I wanted to make myself look good and make other people look bad, I would have cherry picked the hell out of those files, released what I wanted released, and didn't not release what I didn't want released. I would show new things that haven't been given to the public yet, that don't have, my name in them or the name of my friends or my rich friends who, might otherwise get in trouble or be pointed out. And the only thing I can think of is they went through those files, and as they were going through them, they realized that with all the stuff they'd have to redact, there's nothing substantive that they can release. And so they had to figure out a way to say we can't release them, which is, I don't think, what they wanted to do. I think they really wanted to release some of these things to go after some of their political enemies, for example. But there was just too much in there that they couldn't without hurting themselves or, other, maybe people in the non-prosecution agreement or other Johns and other co-conspirators who they didn't want to show everybody what they've done. That's all I can think.
I sit here and again, it pisses me off because we shouldn't even really be having this type of hypothetical question and answer session.
They have the answers,
right? We should be saying, Allison, according to page 203 of the 238-page document, or on page 1700 of the 38,000 documents in Exhibit, D, we can talk specifics because those specifics exist. There was thousands of hours by FBI agents, by police, and by investigators and so on. It's there. And to me, it's so infuriating that we have all of these conspiracy theories that are constantly coming up. Oh, what does this mean? And what does that mean? You don't know. That's the whole thing. If you hate Donald Trump, well, the answer is very simple. This is what it means, because it's in a light most negative to him. If you are a Trump supporter, come on, doesn't mean shit like that GOP member from Tennessee. I always forget his name, the idiot. He's like Burchett.
Yeah.
I think he's like considered the dumbest, walking, individual there in Congress, sitting there, and he's like making up all sorts of stuff that, again, make no sense at all. I don't understand what they're doing, and none of this makes any sense to me whatsoever. It just doesn't.
No, and I think that's why we focus on the fact that there's a cover-up, and we keep reminding people that there's a cover-up, and we keep demanding the truth.
Hey, everyone. First of all, thanks for watching. We're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.